The month is winding down, and that means it's time for the Maybe series. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the November 2024 Maybe series. I really can't believe that October's over. Like, I don't know where the month went. I really don't. It has been crazy for me, work-wise, social-wise. It's been a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like really wrung out. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. If you've never tuned in to the Maybe series, this is your first time. The Maybe series is a list of books I compiled towards the end of the month of what I might read in the upcoming month. So I put a little picture of it here, and I talk about the synopsis if I can remember, and kind of tell you why I put it on the list. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the list is super short today. Honestly, things have just been a lot for me. Life has been super heavy lately. Really getting into like the cold weather months, like it's getting darker earlier. I can already feel my like winter blues coming along a little bit. Just a lot's been happening, okay? And work has been really crazy for me. And I really struggled with my reading in October. October is like one of my favorite months, and I still just really struggled with everything. It just always seemed to be like too much was happening all at once, and I feel like it's just going to get worse as the end of the year comes to a close. The next couple months, November, December, are historically just incredibly busy for us as a family. And yeah, I'm not anticipating it being any easier than previous years. So yeah, the list is short. I'm gonna try and take it light in November. We'll just see what happens. I think I've been biting off way too much lately, and I really need to scale back. And unfortunately, that usually falls to my reading, and that's just kind of where we are right now, and just have to make the best of what we have. And I know that I have to kind of get things under control for myself. Like, I'm just been too expended, you know what I mean? I need to like dial back in. So yeah, we'll see what happens in November, but let's start with the maybes list. So as I was compiling the list, I really didn't know what I wanted to read. I've been in a mood, okay? But November is Indigenous Heritage Month, so I did put a couple books on the list today that are by Indigenous authors. And I will read one book in November that's by an Indigenous author for sure. I just don't know how many I'm going to be reading, or like, yeah. So, Indigenous Heritage Month, there will be a post in November about some of my favorite books by Indigenous authors. I'm really excited about that because I've read some really good ones this year already. There will be at least one book in the final lineup that is by an Indigenous author. And then I also kind of looked through some of my goals for the year, and one of them is finishing some series, or at least making some progress on my series. So there are a couple books from series on here just to see if we could kind of get that ball rolling again. We'll see, okay? But let's get started. The first book on the November Maybe series is The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the final book in the Indian Lake trilogy, okay? Which I just read, Don't Fear the Reaper. I think that was like in August that I read that, and it was a long time coming for me to read that book, okay? I really put way too much space between the first and second book. The first book of this series is My Heart is a Chainsaw. Absolutely love that book. I've talked about it a lot on my channel, and I did talk about Don't Fear the Reaper. So this is the last book in that series. So if I finish this, then I would be finishing the Indian Lake trilogy, which would make me very happy. I actually started this series back before Stephen Graham Jones finished writing it. So I'm happy that they're all out and I can finish it, and I won't be left on a cliffhanger. Bonus points, Stephen Graham Jones is an Indigenous author. This is a great addition to the November lineup. This is also horror. I just don't know if I can do more horror, okay? I'm really horrored out at this point, and I'll get into this in the October wrap-up next week, but like, it was a really rough read this month for horror. I've been a little disappointed. So I know Stephen Graham Jones won't disappoint me though, because he's an excellent horror writer. But I just don't know if I have it in me to do another horror book right now. But yes, this is on the list. We'll see. The next book on the list is Their Vicious Darling by Nikki St. Crowe. Okay, this is the third book in the Vicious Lost Boys series, which is basically smutty Peter Pan. I read the first and the second one. I feel like it's been a while. It's been a minute since I've read them. I usually do this on audiobook, and I absolutely love the narrators for this series have been just phenomenal. I like this series in general. They're all pretty short. It just kind of, you don't have to take it too seriously, I guess. It is very smutty, dirty. Like Peter Pan, Captain Hook, Lost Boys. Yeah. So this might be a nice break for me from all the other more serious things that I've been reading, and it might be a nice change of pace. And usually the audiobooks are pretty short, so like I can finish them in a couple days, just like chilling at night when I'm not doing very much or just like doing my chores and things like that. Yeah, so this would be me working towards finishing this series as well. The next book on the list is The Retreat by Sarah Pearse. Okay, this is the Elin Warner detective series. So this is the sequel to The Sanatorium. Okay, I read The Sanatorium a long time ago. I absolutely loved that book, okay? Really great winter aesthetic thriller. Absolutely fantastic. This one is probably not going to be winter aesthetic, but I do remember, like, this book has been on so many maybe series and I have not read it yet. And it's like, I really liked the first one. Why have I not moved on? Like, typically the reason I don't continue series, or like I continue them really slowly, is because whatever book I read previously didn't really do it for me, or I'm just sort of unsure about the series. I liked the first book though. I really did. And I feel like the reason there's been such a big gap between The Sanatorium and this one is that this book didn't come out after I read The Sanatorium. Like, I read The Sanatorium and then I found out it was a series, and the second book hadn't come out yet. So I feel like that's sort of where the disconnect is for me, is I fell behind because I was waiting for the book to come out. But now, like, I think she's finished the whole series. So, yeah, I waited a while. So it might be time to go back to this. The Sanatorium was a really good thriller. I talked about that a lot on my channel as well. It's kind of a trip, and it's definitely one of the ones I like to read in the winter. Like, it matches my winter aesthetic perfectly. Like I said, this probably won't have the winter aesthetic just by looking at the cover. It's not really giving winter, so we'll see. The next book on the list is Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese. Okay, I have been saying for like ever that I want to get into Richard Wagamese. He writes a lot of indigenous literature, fiction, and he's just one of the big names, okay? And I haven't read any of his stuff. Indian Horse has been on like 2 or 3 maybes lists already, and I've not read it. This is basically about a guy that goes, an indigenous man that goes into AA after he has issues with alcoholism. And while he's there, he kind of works through a lot of his issues. And basically, he was alive in the time where he was going to a residential school, and then his subsequent release from that, and how he kind of coped with life afterwards. I read a book about residential schools a few years ago, 5 Little Indians by Michelle Good. If this book is anything like that book, it's going to have me in pieces, okay? And I do expect it to take me to pieces, because Richard Wagamese is a very powerful writer, as I've understood from reviews and things like that. This book has been on my list forever. Richard Wagamese has been on my list forever. So if I have time to hit this up, or if I have the opportunity to hit this up in November, I think I really want to. The next book on my list is Crazy Brave by Joy Harjo. Okay, this is a memoir by an indigenous woman, Joy Harjo, and she actually lives in Oklahoma, which is where I'm originally from, and there is a very large indigenous population that live in Oklahoma. If you don't know about indigenous history, that's kind of like where they all were driven to relocation and stuff like that. So there is a really big population of indigenous peoples down there. This sounded really interesting, and as I was reading the synopsis for it, I was kind of struck with how it didn't sound like a memoir. It sounded like a story that is also a memoir, if you know what I mean when I say that. Like, there's some books that you read that are memoirs that are just very memoir-y, you know, and then there's stories like Wild. That did not feel like a memoir to me. Okay, I didn't actually know it was a memoir until I was like halfway through. I know. That's just reading comprehension for you at its finest. But I feel like it's going to feel like that book, that it just is going to feel like a story. And then as you're going along, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this actually happened to her. Like, this is Joy Harjo's story, you know? So I absolutely love this cover. I love this photograph. I'm really interested in this book, and it's not that long. So I feel like I could probably read it fairly quickly. Or if it's on audio, I would love to listen to it if Joy Harjo narrates it. So we'll see. But yeah, this really caught my eye. This has been on my list. Like, I don't think I've put it in any maybe series, but it's been on a reading list for me for a long time. This is the last one, and this is a bit of a wild card one. I also know that the list is kind of short this week or this month, but like I said, life's been a lot. I'm really not trying to overload myself and set my expectations like kind of low, you know. The book is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. Okay, just like the title, right, is really like giving a lot of vibes. And I read the synopsis. There's not a synopsis. Like, it's basically like, he's like, hi, my name is Ernie, I think. And he's like, everyone in my family has killed somebody, including me. Here's my story. That's like the whole synopsis right there. So I'm like, well, that's pretty intriguing. Like, very well done on the marketing, okay? The reviews for this are kind of mid. So I don't really know what to expect. I also don't know if this is going to be considered a thriller. I don't know. It popped up on a list for me of if you like books with big twists, which of course I do. And I was like, let's just add it to the list. It's not going to hurt anything to put it on the maybes list. So I guess we'll see if I'll have time for this. It sounds really interesting. So yeah. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. Yeah, I know, super short. And we'll just see how November plays out. Honestly, I'm trying to just keep it together. That is the goal for November, is to keep it together. Yeah, that's the whole goal. We'll see what kind of reading happens. I do know for the book club book, I run a book club, and there is a spot every month on my final lineup for the book club book. I do know that the book club book that the group is leaning towards is a very thick one. If the poll holds out to where it has been over the last week, I don't know how that's gonna go for me. We'll always try our best. Yeah, we'll just see. We'll just see how it all works out. And that'll also dictate how much other reading I get done, because the book club book will take kind of precedence because I run it. It's important to me to read the book and be able to lead the discussion, etc., etc. So yeah, that will heavily depend on how that shakes out. Also, how my work schedule shakes out. Work has been wild, okay? If you don't know, I'm a freelance beta reader, and I have been booked up solid for weeks. I'm very tired. I'm also so very grateful, though, to be working so much. I mean, that's sort of the gag in freelance, is that you just kind of have to take the work when it comes, because there's going to be months when there's not going to be any work. And historically, December and January are low yield months, so I have to get my clients where I can, which means usually October and November are pretty heavy. We'll just see. Like I said, the goal is to just keep it together. That's the whole goal for November and December. Keep it together. So thank you so much for stopping by. Sorry I've been so rambly. We have one more episode of Spooktober coming up next week, which is going to be the October wrap-up. I have a lot of feelings to share with you then. Yeah, tell me what you're doing in November. If you have any books by Indigenous authors that you want to share with me or that you think would be lovely, I love hearing from you guys. And I will see you all next time. Bye.